Good morning, AYS. Beautiful, beautiful morning down on the bayou. I got to admit, it's good to be back. It's good to be back. Took a day off, after National Signing Day. Needed a refresh and get ready to come back, and it's good to be back. Hope you guys are having a good morning. I know that I am as well. Drinking my coffee, and we're going to get underway because we got a lot to talk about today. A lot to talk about today. Brian Kelly under fire by the LSU media, or one specific LSU media member. Not going to go in on the media member. I think that his questions are warranted, but not plausible in some of the things that he says. So we'll see. We'll discuss that. LSU. Oh my God. But Blake, LSU so behind in American likeness. LSU constructs a massive NIL deal. Something that will change the game in LSU football's history. Was landed yesterday. We'll talk on that. Massive achievement from LSU, Scott Woodward, and the entire administration. So we'll talk about that right when we come out of the break because, I mean, guys, look, we've been talking about and defending and mentioning that, and I've had to kind of sit back and wait for this to kind of break. But, I mean, all I've been hearing for the last 4 weeks is LSU so behind in NIL, and look what they just did. So we'll touch on that as well. Craig Schilling says live baseball tweets from the box from Carl the Cat. I'll ask Carl. But Carl says, let's go. Baseball scrimmage today at 12:30. I wanted to make my way over there. My intention today was to ease my way over there. However, things just don't always go as planned. As we got some stuff to do, and daddy duties. And Ben Ruffino's not going to sit down and watch a baseball game. Like we do every Saturday mornings, guys, #AskBlake. We try to get to as many, if not all, of your questions and comments inside of the Rudy Crew chat. Fire them away. And we got some big, I think I'm going to drop some massive news too. For AYS. Actually, I'll do that. I'll do that out of the break. How about that? I'll do that out of the break. We'll talk a little Auburn and Alabama. If you haven't seen, Auburn and Alabama's football program has been in the media spotlight over the last 48 hours with Brian Harsin and Pete Golding. I will address both of those. We'll talk about it. And LSU heads to Vanderbilt in NashVegas. We'll touch on that basketball game as well. So let's get to a couple comments before we get to the break. Drew says, Rudy Poo. Good morning to you, sir. Mario Collada says, anybody going to the baseball scrimmage today at 12:30? Carl the Cat said, I think he was. I am not going to be able to make it. Wade McBride says, Blake, are you going to go ham on the media? I did yesterday with some of just the absolute chaos. But we'll touch on that. And look, I like Hanny. I like Hannah Griff a lot. But some things, pick up the phone and make a phone call because LSU already notified what was going on. So Tracy Poole says, good morning, Blake. Good morning, Tracy. Rob Boudreaux says, some good spaces last night. Yeah, it was pretty intense. The Twitter spaces guys are really exploding for us and a lot of people. And quite honestly, man, it's a place where, I know some people don't like them, but man, we're growing some really big and good friendships in those Twitter spaces, man. It's really fun. Gerald says LSU will not get above 20 on NSD. Yeah, they did. All right, let's do this. You know what? Before we get to the break, we do have some massive news. A part of who's going to be our partner, I'm going to hold off until we get things rolling. But if you're an LSU athlete, if you're a Southeastern Louisiana athlete, DM us. Hit us up. I'm excited to announce that we are going to be doing and getting into the name, image, and likeness game through AYS. There's a lot of things that we're going to be doing. So if you're an athlete, hit us up. I think it's something that we're going to, as we are continuously building and growing at RU Serious Sports, we're going to expand our team. So as we're already expanding our team and getting things moving, we're also going to be doing some name, image, and likeness stuff. That's going to be really fun. And we're going through compliance and everything that it takes to do the name, image, and likeness stuff. So we do have a partner. They're already a sponsor now who's going to be partnering with us in this. So I'm very excited to announce that. And it's something that I've been looking forward to from such a long time. I think for me, I feel like it's a part of a responsibility of someone who is building a business that we grow our brand and help others grow their brand too. So again, if you're part of LSU, you're part of Southeastern Louisiana, DM us, and we'll talk to you, and we'll get some things rolling. So I just wanted to announce that and talk about that. So we're really, really, really excited to do that. Creole King says, is Southern University included? Absolutely. 100%. Well, I'm just using LSU because we talk LSU and Southeastern just being my alma mater. So that's the two that we were just specifically talking about. But yes, absolutely. So, all right, let's do this. Everybody do us a favor by hitting the like and share. Share it to some Facebook groups. We'll be announcing more on that AYS NIL stuff too. It's really exciting. So do us a favor, hit the like and share. If you're on Facebook, there's about 250 of you in there currently. Everybody, I want 200 likes if we can. Hit the like button, hit the share to some Facebook groups and all that kind of stuff. We would greatly, greatly appreciate it. If you're on YouTube, do us a favor by hitting that subscribe button and notification bell. Look, get all of your friends and LSU fans and SEC fans to subscribe. We would greatly, greatly appreciate that. If you're listening to us on the audio podcast platform, do us a favor by hitting that subscribe button as well and give us a rating. Let us know what you think. If there's some things we need to improve on, there's not. Let us know. All right. Got to pay bills, though. None better than our good friends over at GM Varno & Sons and BetOnline.ag. Guys, with over 64 years of experience, nobody's better equipped to service in your vehicle than GM Varno & Sons. RV repair, big rig overhauls, motorhome chassis, routine maintenance, tire rotations, tire sales. No job is too big or too small over at GM. Give them a call today at 225-664-9992. That's 225-664-9992. Or go see them over at 2500 Florida Boulevard in Denham Springs, Louisiana. Our good friends over at BetOnline.ag. Guys, we got so much going on when it comes to mobile sports gambling inside of the state of Louisiana. Guys, if you want to bet on the Super Bowl, Joe Burrow, are you going to bet on the man Joe Burrow? You need to do it. And the place that you do that is BetOnline.ag. Whip out your mobile device at the end of the show. Sign up if you haven't done so already. Use the Believe 50 AYS podcast tab. That way that they know that your good friend Blake Ruffino sent you on by. That's BetOnline.ag. BetOnline.ag. All right. Let's get this thing rolling this morning. Craig Schilling says, love our guy Hanny, but he got ambushed. Yeah, he did. So we can start off there. If you missed it yesterday, and look, I really, really do like Charles Hannegriff. I like his content. I like a lot of things that he's doing. And this is more, and what I'm about to say is not reflecting on Charles Hannegriff. It really isn't. Some of it will about what happened yesterday. So if you missed it, Charles Hannegriff, formerly of 104.5 ESPN, does the Hannycast, does a really good job, said kind of just in his own way was expressing his feelings about why Brian Kelly had not come out at the end of National Signing Day and done a press conference and things revolving around a press conference. Now, I'm putting two and two together from people I talk with LSU and the stuff that they already let the media know. I'm a part of some of the things that they're doing and things that LSU release for the media, and it would appear to me that LSU is coming together and they want to do one big media service when it comes to announcing coaches and when it comes to talking about the end of recruiting. Now, a lot of people are growing frustrated with Brian Kelly not going into the public and speaking. And for that reason, somewhat I understand. Do I want to hear Brian Kelly speak sometimes? Sure, I don't have a problem with it. But what I'm not going to do is freak out about it. I'm not going to freak out about a coach who's not going in front of the media and speaking about what's going on. I'm not going to do it. Because for me, at least, Brian Kelly has a lot he has to fix. You don't go 11-11 in 2 seasons, and you don't have a lot to fix. Uh-oh. Did our YouTube channel just go down? No? Says our YouTube channel might have gone down. No. If you're watching it on YouTube, give me a thumbs up. Uh-oh. Okay, well, it looks like we're good. If we're going on YouTube, y'all give me a thumbs up. All right, we're good. For some reason something happened. Okay. However, there's not access privilege to Brian Kelly. And here's the problem that I have with that. Is Brian Kelly a year ago yesterday? I went and checked this morning. Woke up early, went and checked it. Brian Kelly a year ago today went in front of Notre Dame's media and talked about National Signing Day. He's done that every single year on early signing day and National Signing Day when he was at Notre Dame. The question that I have, and maybe should have just been asked, is maybe why didn't Brian Kelly go out there and say anything and do anything or talk about the National Signing Day when it comes to LSU? Do you think that there's something plausible? Is there something plausible that Brian Kelly could have had, or the administration did not want him to go out there because they wanted to do one big media conglomerate of announcing coaches, announcing recruits, so on and so forth, and Brian Kelly agreed to it? I come on here and I talk about the media. Now, Charles Hannegriff can have his own opinion. And this is more of a problem for me. And it's not what Charles Hannegriff did. It's not the tweets that he said. It's not the problem that he has. Here's the problem that Blake Ruffino and AYS has. The problem that I have is can you really name a whole lot, even from a local media standpoint or a national media standpoint, that's been positive around LSU over the last couple of months and years? The thing that I see is that in January of last year, LSU was hit by a RICO case from Sharon Lewis in Title IX. Fast forward 12 months, and the RICO case has been dropped. And some of the things about Title IX and the Ed Orgeron case, Ed Orgeron has now been placed out and dropped out of the Title IX case, not due to anything that the judge has said, but the plaintiffs and the people who are going after the lawsuit said Ed Orgeron is out of the case. But we're not talking about that as a media coverage. Nobody's talking about that. So LSU that was sued for $100 million is no longer being sued for $100 million. Your former ex-head coach is no longer also being sued, and nobody talks about it. But we make it a big deal. We made it a huge deal when the news came out. Huge deal. Here's also what I hear, and this does correlate to Brian Kelly, is LSU is so far behind in name, image, and likeness. So far behind. They have no idea what they're doing. They're unorganized. They're doing this and doing that. Maybe you're not speaking to the right people. Maybe, just maybe, you're not speaking to the right people. Because even though LSU's press release said that it took them a day, or we just announced it, we're just announcing this new jersey sale. So if you missed that yesterday, LSU announced a massive deal with Fanatics that you can get a customized LSU jersey, put the name and number on the back of that customized jersey, and that jersey and those proceeds and a percentage of that will go to the player that's on LSU's team. Massive. Example, if Kayshon Boutte is getting 25% of 50,000 jersey sales at $100 a sale, guys, he's going to make somewhere close to $1 million in that proceed. Massive deal yesterday. But do you believe that Scott Woodward and everything going on with Fanatics, something that massive, only took a day? No, guys, it didn't. Because here's what normally happens in an apparel company. You got to get inventory. You got to talk to Nike. Do they have the jerseys ready to go? Do they have the massive amounts of quantities of what's going to come from LSU fans when they buy these jerseys? Multiple people are already wanting to buy a Harold Perkins number 4 jersey. Seen it everywhere. Have seen it everywhere. Deals this massive where Nike has to make the product, ship it to Fanatics. Fanatics has to use the customized thing and put the customized name and the customized number and then ship it out to the player. Do you think that that's not been talked about for months? Can you just imagine how long that took Scott Woodward and company? To say that LSU is behind, what you're really trying to say is that LSU is behind in A&M in recruiting when it comes to name, image, and likeness. That's what you're saying. Because if you're saying that LSU is behind in NIL, then you must have forgot about the name, image, and likeness sign, the NILSU, that was in Times Square. You must have forgot the massive amounts of fat stacks of cash that Derek Singh got day one from Walk-On's Waiter and United Airlines or whatever airline service he's with. You must forget about what you're seeing with Mason Smith and the gummies. By the way, go get some of those gummies. Absolutely fantastic. LSU might not be behind, but they didn't go do it in recruiting. The correlation with Brian Kelly is that, oh, well, Brian Kelly can't get money. Brian Kelly can't talk to the boosters. Brian Kelly can't do this. Brian Kelly can't do that. It's all a lie. So for once, I asked a simple question to LSU fans. When are we going to, and I'm going to get to the comments here. We got a lot to get to on those. When do we come to a point where we just start saying, hey, guys, in the media, it's not about you. It's not about you beating a dead horse. It's not beating over if Brian Kelly is speaking to the media or not. Because I've said this multiple times. Brian Kelly does not address the media. He addresses the fans. You're the one that has to ask the questions. It has nothing to do with you. And there's not necessarily a public outcry about Brian Kelly missing one national signing day when he's out at an NILSU event on a Wednesday night speaking with 18, 20 millionaires that want to give money and be a part of name, image, and likeness. Hashtag priorities. Now, the people of the media won't agree with me, but there's a new age coming. There's a new era at LSU. For that alone, I feel as if that we need to take a step back and give the man his due time. Why is it that we can't have anything nice around here? Why don't, 2 points and I'll end it here. Why isn't really anybody in the media getting on Will Wade about the basketball team right now? Is it because he gives you media coverage? Is it because he gives you media access? Is it because he tells you what's going on in recruiting? Love Will, love it. Fantastic. If Will wants to do that, fantastic. Absolutely fine. Have no problem with it. But now you aren't getting mad at Will Wade and the adjustments that he's not doing with this LSU basketball team, but you're getting Brian Kelly because he's doing something. He started with the 40th best class in recruiting, guys, and he ended it. And he's not done, by the way, because they got more spots to fill in this recruiting roster and this recruiting, I guess you could say the rest of the recruiting for 2022. Guys, he's not done. And they're number 6 per 247's composite score rankings. 6th. I just feel I just feel that we need to take a step back. Not everything around LSU has to be negative, because all it seems to hear that I hear and things that are sent to me is negativity around Brian Kelly. Last point here, and this is really going to piss off some of the people that I grew up with in the Hammond natives. You know what's interesting? Do you hold Nick Saban to the same standards? Do you hold him to the same standards? It's a common question. Because if you hold him to the same standards, his defensive coordinator just got arrested for a DUI. Not going to get into specifics of why Pete Golding or what happened there. Things that I hear, things that I don't hear. It's not my place to talk about. I think it's funny that, and everybody talks about, well, Blake, what about the legalities? This isn't the first time someone's been arrested, and you can come out there and say, guys, listen, here's our press release. We have nothing to say. We're internally investigating the matter. Per Nick Saban, we're investigating the matter internally. But you don't hold him to the same standards that you hold Brian Kelly. And if before you say, well, I don't cover LSU, I don't cover Alabama, I cover LSU, I'm worried about the brand that's around LSU. You know what protects the brand? You know what helps the brand? By you going out there and asking Nick Saban the hard questions too, and asking him why he's not talking about his defensive coordinator that just got arrested for a DUI. You can be friends with Pete Golding. I know my Hammond people are going to rip me on that. But here's the truth. When we're part of a media service, we're going to talk about it. Grow up, Peter Pan. Grow up. That protects the brand. All right. Craig Schilling sends us $9.99 via Super Chat. Thank you, Craig. Rodney sends us $9.99 via Super Chat. Thank you guys so much. Who, Penn Jones? Thank you, Penn. Sends us $4.99.99 via Super Chat. Thank you so much. He says, do you think Kayshawn's jersey only in number 7 is telling us all we need to know who's wearing number 7 this season? I think it could, Penn. I think it could. And look, about this LSU NIL deal stuff. Guys, this didn't just happen overnight. It's massive. It's massive. Could you imagine if you're maybe a collector or want your jersey signed or whatever, by guys that played at LSU, guys that will leave legacies, buying a number 7 Tyrann Mathieu jersey, buying a number 9 Joe Burrow jersey, and Joe Burrow can go and do an event in the offseason or whenever and sign that jersey. You get it mounted. We get it mounted in the new AYS studio. That kid, guys, I mean, I did the math yesterday, and we all did the math, and we did different percentages when we were on Twitter Spaces. There's a potential, and look, Kayshawn Boutte selling 25, 30, 40, 50,000 jerseys is now that is so accessible, is not uncommon or unrealistic when you got millions upon millions upon millions of Alvin Kamara jerseys being sold every year. It's not unrealistic. That kid, because of what LSU just pulled off and what Scott Woolward and company just pulled off, can make millions. Brian Kelly can now walk in a recruit's home and say, hey, did you see that the number 1 selling college football jersey was Kayshawn Boutte last year? Guys, think about that. Think about that. I mean, look. Rob Boudreaux says, I like that shirt you have on, Blake. Yep. It's somebody asked me too, Rob. Thank you. Said that is it an old faded shirt? No, it's actually how the faded stuff is in style or whatever. You know, like it just came like that. Pooh Bear says I'm behind on getting a jersey. I am too, guys. So I'm gonna get multiple ones of them. Especially. Craig said Spectrum happened. Actually, it's not Spectrum. I think it's YouTube because I'm watching it on my back end. I think Spectrum's actually being okay today. But what if, I announced earlier today, if you missed it, that one of our local sponsors or one of our sponsors, big LSU fans, boosters, whatever, is going to be we're going to be coming together and we're going to be doing AYS NIL deals. And with that said alone, do you think that when we get him on the podcast or we get him on the show, that I'm not going to sponsor by buying his jersey, getting his name on the back? And hell, I mean, you're damn right I am. I'm going to support that, and I'm going to support him or her or whomever, no matter what. I mean, now we got to be objective, and I understand that, and we'll tell them that. Look, man, I'm out here, 25 times a month. I got to be objective, but I will support you no matter what. No matter what. But yes, I'm going to do it. Talking about protecting the brand, what about talking about and making it more of a bigger deal about the jersey sale things? What if Brian Kelly walks into the number one recruit in the country's home tomorrow? I know he can't. I get it. And says, hey, you know what's a brand awareness thing? You know what's something that we can push for you? You're the number one jersey sale in college football. What do you think would have happened with Joe Burrow in 2019 if this was a thing? What do you think would have happened? I'll tell you what happened. We would have broke Nike. Louisiana would have broke Nike. Let's go. Oh, God, it gets me every time. LB on YouTube says, I'm good with BK and Wilbert. I am too. Guys, they're going to have a press conference about National Signing Day, coordinators, and etc. Colin Thibodeau says, New Iberia going to be full of boutique jerseys. Absolutely it is. Absolutely it is. Dat Boy Doe on YouTube says, I'm getting an LSU number 00 Ben Sinosaur Ruffino jersey. That's what I'm talking about. Represent Ben Ruffino. I love it. Tony, I got to tell you, he, getting older, his pronunciation is getting a lot better. He can say dinosaur now. But for a while there, my son Ben was big into dinosaurs, huge into dinosaurs. He'd run up to me and go, Daddy, look at my Sinosaur. I'm like, what about sinuses? I had no idea what he was talking about. Where he picked up on loving dinosaurs, I have no idea. Neil says, hashtag Ask Blake. I noticed that the media does a lot over the last 2 years. They shouldn't start shite. Where's there none? Guys, I don't know. And look, again, I'll say it again. Nice shot at Charles Hannegriff. But, I've been coming out on this show for the last 4 weeks and saying, guys, I'm hearing something's about to go down. I'm hearing something's about to go down. Everybody that's part of the Twitter spaces, I kept saying in every single one of those Twitter spaces, guys, I hear something massive is about to go down. Let me tell you what I heard Monday. What I heard Monday was, and I got a phone call and about somebody telling me, and look, I was wrong in what I thought was about to happen. I thought the LSU had found a way to pay every single LSU football player, right? Oh, and by the way, we didn't even talk about LSU men's and women's basketball getting the game coin. They got their entire team just got sponsored by a business, like not Bitcoin, but Game Coin. Didn't even talk about that. But Monday I had heard that, and we had heard I'd heard even before then that something, Matt, when it was coming down. And Monday they said it's here. We're probably more than likely going to release it this week. Friday it happened. Tasha Thibodeau, or Tasha the Tiger, on YouTube who runs the Real LSU Nation. Guys, go to the Real LSU Nation. Not sign up, but go follow the page, be a part of the page. A lot of news, LSU news goes into there. Great place. But she says our fan base, well, some in our fan base need to pop a Xanax and chill. It embraces how much and destructive they are. It's embarrassing. We are sick of you trolls. Guys, I just don't I don't feel I don't understand, nor do I know. I got to get a new chair, man. I don't know where all this is coming from. You know what I mean? Like, can we have something and have a situation where something positive is coming out of here? If the fans are upset with it and want it, that's one thing. And then Brian, and look, and here's the thing: Brian Kelly's not going to not address the media. He did it a year ago at Notre Dame. Is there something plausible? Is there something plausible that could have happened? He was on Dan Patrick. Dunk Hunter 97 brings up a really interesting question. He says, hashtag ask Blake, are they going to do jerseys for former players? Well, it's actually a customized jersey that you do. Now, I don't know how that works. I don't know that the deal that they're going to do for former players. I don't know that. I don't know that. I can't tell you. Carlton Reed on YouTube says, hashtag ask Blake, how much of an advantage is the NIL deal? It sounded like the Texas AD was saying on Twitter they are about to get that deal also when asked by a fan. The thing about this, that Carlton is that they don't. And I would assume that LSU has some. I would assume that LSU, and look, I would expect that to happen for Texas or whoever. The fact of this is Texas says, and I'm quoting you, that they're about to get on that deal. They're about to go do it too. Means that they don't have it done. That they're not even talking yet. Right? But that's all I keep hearing. It's all I keep hearing. Penn Jones says, how in the hell is that wide receiver that signed as a preferred walk-on yesterday not have stars? Kid is at least a 3-star, maybe even a 4-star. I don't know. But what I would tell you, Penn, is multiple recruiting services that go and scout these guys have not seen any of them play. I talked to one of them about 3 weeks ago, I think. So 3 weeks ago? Hadn't been, and I know, and I love him to death, but hadn't been inside the state of Louisiana in 3 weeks. I mean, 3 weeks. Almost 3 years. Well, wouldn't it be? I mean, no. So COVID was 2020, so 2 years. Hasn't been one game inside the state of Louisiana. And he's the lead scout, by the way. But, yeah, I get, look, a lot of people are talking about this DUI thing. Look, and nobody's talking about it. Look, the collapse, and I gave this scenario last night. If you hadn't heard or seen, Alabama's current defensive coordinator Pete Golding was arrested. Well, he was charged. He just wasn't convicted. Charged and arrested on suspicion of DUI. And then within 12 hours, Brian Harsin, the head coach at Auburn, is fighting for his life to keep his job because somebody leaked out there that he's having inappropriate relations with a current employee. And Auburn fans are so dumb, with some of this stuff. This morning I got on Twitter and one of them said to me, and you would just need to go follow the case. A former cheerleader and GA follow Brian Harsin from Boise to Auburn as a part of his staff. And this is like what they're saying. Aaron on YouTube says, she followed him from Boise to Auburn in that same kind of position and role, a part of his staff. Of course, it could be a coincidence. But what would motivate someone to make that move? How about her job? How about more money? How about being a part of the SEC? She's not in Boise. The only thing in Boise is potatoes and snow. It's the only thing that's there, and maybe some good whiskey. That's it. But before you run out there and make allegations on a coach or anyone, especially his family and especially something in his personal life, you better come with some damn evidence. And then the Auburn president came out and said that they have to investigate this issue further to find out what's true and what's not true. Then the Auburn AD said he spoke with multiple veteran players and multiple players on the football staff, and all of them said that, look, Brian Harsin, yeah, he's really tough on us, but he loves us. And just because he's tough doesn't mean anything, bro. But it is funny that Pete Golding gets arrested for a DUI, and then all of a sudden Brian Harsin's fighting for his job, isn't it? Very coincidental. Had some coffee spill there. But yeah. So what the media will do to you, bro. David sends some stars via Super Chat. Thank you so much, David. John says, how long until you see Bama and other teams getting on that Fanatics deal? I don't know. Guys, I have no idea. But here's the thing. They're not done. Like, guys, the entire basketball team, the entire women's and men's basketball team just got signed on with Gamecoin, like the Bitcoin cryptocurrency type of deal. They're not behind. What they've done is, and it could be smart, is they're taking care of their current players on the roster. That's what they're doing. And then when you take care of your current players on the roster, then you can go and do things in recruiting. Here's where it could all backfire for Texas A&M. Think about this, which nobody's talking about. If you're a player currently on Texas A&M's team, and you're hearing about multiple 100,000 and 100,000 deals for multiple of these freshmen coming in, and you've been here, and the kid hasn't done anything, what do you think's going on inside that locker room when a new freshman recruit, maybe the number one recruit that they have, or whoever it may be, drives up in a Bentley, drives up in a Dodge Charger? What do you think that kid's going to be feeling? Versus the LSU deal, where they're taking care of the current players that are committed, who are not leaving, who are not going into the transfer portal, who are not doing anything, who want to be a part of the program, and then trickling it down to the recruits. What are you going to do, and are you going to say that LSU is behind in name, image, and likeness if 10 recruits from this current Texas A&M class goes into the transfer portal after getting their $100,000 and goes elsewhere? What are you planning to do when multiple starters or people leave Texas A&M, when that locker room starts fracturing because they're hearing about the multiple $100,000 deals that current freshmen or current recruits are getting? You don't know what's about to go on here. And you know what fractures a locker room quicker than anything? And especially, we've seen it happen in the NFL. What do you think is going to happen with 18 to 21-year-old kids? Now, versus something like what LSU is doing and making sure that the current players are okay, and then you go to recruits. Everybody's making money. So you don't think about that. You worry about a recruiting class, and you don't worry about the kids that are currently on your roster. What if this – you know what the real reason why Jimbo came out here and freaked out on the media about we're not doing name, image, and likeness stuff? You want to know the real reason? Because I guarantee you in that locker room, I guarantee it, would put all the money that I'll ever make of my entire life. Maybe I shouldn't say that. Just in case of that 1%. But I would put all the money that I have in my bank account right now that he's going out there, because there's players in his locker room already talking about this being BS. Ever think about that? You got to let this thing play out, man. You got to let this NIL stuff breathe. You got to let Brian Kelly be here for a while. You know, I was so excited. I was so excited. Let me tell you what I did. I threw my notepad at the wall. I was so pissed off because I literally wanted to come out here and talk about baseball. Oh, there it is. Planned the entire show for today. Start around 4 o'clock. Started planning the show from this morning, and wanted to talk LSU baseball and basketball. Shit on that noise. Rodney D on YouTube says, #ask Blake, do you think women's basketball gets in on the jersey thing? My daughter loves KP. I don't know. I would assume that they're trying to do something like that. I think that the game coin thing is a big deal, that all the players are getting paid the same thing. From a basketball jersey sale and college, I don't know how that's going to work. I don't know that. I really don't. I would be lying if I told you anything about that. Now, maybe something comes of it, but that's a good question. I don't know. Brandon says that there's some good whiskey in Boise. Man, there really is. There's some really good whiskey in Boise. And as I talk about whiskey, Father Abear, I got to admit, I was joking with the guy yesterday on Twitter about the Bible verses. I know that second coronavirus is not in the Bible. It's a joke, but I know that you know that. But he says, late to the party. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Father Abear. Good morning, sir. But yeah. Devin Stobb says entanglement. Yeah, I think that there could be some serious entanglement with Texas A&M. And guys, look how easy it is to bring a program down. Look at Auburn. And let me say this. Everybody says, well, Blake, talk about LSU. Guys, the Auburn news reflects and goes to what happens at LSU. You have to monitor teams and talk about teams that's in your own conference. Sorry, you might not want to hear it, but you do. The things that are going on with Brian Harsin and Auburn, I thought the Ed Orgeron deal was out of control. This is completely out of control. This is really what's happening behind the scenes from people that I've talked to. Boosters want to control and run the football program. They're not giving Brian Harsin any control. And because Brian Harsin is fighting back and saying you can't run my football team, they're leaking out things that may or may not be true. And I do live in the real world, and we talk about everything that's realistic. What if Miles? People come in the spaces last night. What if Miles Brennan throws for 55 touchdowns? Let's be realistic. In the real world, if he was winning, would it be a problem? No. It's unfortunate. It shouldn't happen. Gerald says on Facebook, that's what pissed me off yesterday about the Harsin thing. Auburn fans getting into family matters. Can't support that. No, I can't support that either. I can't support that either. And look, what happens if it's not true? Then you have tried to ruin the Bryant, and do things about and say things about Brian Harsin's family that aren't true. I don't know if they're true or not true. No idea. But sometimes we got to leave family matters out of this. Now, if there's something like that, then yeah. Phil Tittle says, you mean all the $78.57 in your bank account? Yep. Poor. I am so poor. I need all of you to, y'all got to help me get more stars in Super Chat. If we're going to be doing the AYS NIL, y'all got to be helping brothers out on the Super Chats and the stars. Yeah, I'm poor. I was about to make a joke, but I'm not going to do that. As I've been more experienced as being a husband, I know what jokes to and to not make. I was going to say my wife has all my money, but it's not true. And even if she did, she has the right to all of my money. All right. All right. I'm trying not to laugh extremely hard. Tracy Poole says first coronavirus. Oh my God. Yeah, there's this dude that was talking about, I don't know. I don't know. Hall and Oates says Alabama didn't plant the Harsin story. We have better things to do. Hall and Oates, I'm not claiming that you did. What I'm saying is that it is really interesting. I don't think that you can deny that it's I got to get a new chair, do something. It is very interesting. It is very interesting. Oh, God. Tommy Howard says Ben gets all y'all's money now. Ain't that the truth? Ain't that the truth? Oh, got to buy dinosaurs every week, Dylan Contreras says baseball have a brutal away schedule. Arkansas, Mississippi State, Florida, and Vandy all on the road. Yeah, and they didn't give they did not give Jay Johnson any favors with his first season at LSU. Zero favors. Here's what I'll say to that too. And I love good baseball. And quite honestly, Dylan, we need better baseball. And something that we haven't talked about on the show yet is how crappy and dumb Major League Baseball's being, right? But in reference to Jay Johnson, and I want to spin this very quickly, then we'll get back to some baseball stuff. Just to spin it very quickly. Okay. Paul Mainieri used to drive me insane. You drive me insane. Literally. And some of the stuff he did, and look, however, think about this. Think about the media pressure that was put on the administration to force Paul Mainieri out. And he went to the worst thing he did was he went to a super regional. Guys, that was one of his down seasons, was going to a super regional. By the way, the roster that Jay Johnson inherits, 3 first-round picks, or 3 guys that will be first-round picks. And he brought in a 4th with Jacob Berry. Probably 2 or 3 starters right now currently that are picks between the 3rd, 4th, 5th round. Guys, this roster is loaded. It's loaded. They got to get pitching. They don't have any. I mean, they do, but the other day in the scrimmage, did y'all see the Hayden Travinski and Dylan Cruz thing? Guys, I think the Dylan Cruz and Travinski, would they hit 5 or 6 home runs in the first 2 innings against their starters, against LSU starters or something like that? That's not good, man. That's not good. Everybody do us a favor by hitting the like and share. We greatly appreciate it. Going to talk about our good friend Carol Falls over at State Farm. Guys, call him today, 985-395-4300, 985-395-4300. Guys, get the best rates. The worst thing that can happen is you call Carol and he can't get you better rates on your car, home, and life insurances. 985-395-4300. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there, along with our good friend Carol and our good friends over at Drake Williams Law Firm. Drake Williams Law Firm. .com, 985-386-7600, 985-386-7600. That's DrakeWilliamsLawFirm.com. Guys, real estate, successions, DWIs, whatever. They can help you with every single thing. There's a reason that so many people go to the Drake Williams Law Firm. They treat you like a family. Trust me, guys, when I was out due to Hurricane Ida and we couldn't get back into the studio, the first people that made sure that AYS kept afloat was the Drake Williams Law Firm. DrakeWilliamsLawFirm.com. Give them today. Let them do free consultations for you. If the insurance company is not giving you the right money for Hurricane Ida, if your home was damaged, they'll let them help you out. Tell them that Blake Ruffino, by the way, sent you on by. This is Drake Williams Law Firm. Love those guys. Mark says it's a Senior Bowl today. Absolutely. Did you see Neil Farrell has been going cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs? Neil Farrell has been going cuckoo for absolute Cocoa Puffs. It's going to be fun to watch that today. And look, got to give Ed Ingram credit. There was who was it? Isn't it Matt Nagy that runs the Super Bowl? The Senior Bowl. They're talking about how him, Neil Farrell, Damone Clark, didn't they all 3 win the awards for best players at their position? Jeez. You know what? Let me tell you what I thought about that to start off with. So horrible to think about. So Ed Ingram won the best offensive lineman award or something like that. Best defensive lineman for Neil Farrell. Best linebacker Damone Clark. Man, we went 11-11 last 2 years. Ooh, look who decided to show up. Our good friend Mike Scarborough, TigerBait.com. AYS30 or AYS30 promo code for TigerBait.com. Guys, I go there too. I go there religiously every morning. Penn Jones, but what's up? Good morning, Mike. Penn Jones says, she is watching the show, Blake. No, it sounds like they're in there cleaning. Sounds like they're in there cleaning. But I've learned my lesson as a married man. That's why I had to turn my head, man. Ryan Thibodeau says, if ESPN can cover Little League World Series, then they should be able to air more college baseball games, especially in April. I agree with that. And they do. I mean, they just stream it. I mean, guys, everything's going to stream it. Guys, you're watching me via streaming. Everything's going to it. And with that alone, I'm okay. I'm okay with it. I'm okay with it. But yeah, it would be better for college baseball if they were able to do something like that, or get an ESPN. ESPN the Ocho. Hell, they can afford it. They sure as hell can afford it. So, LSU basketball does head to Stark Vegas, NashVegas today to take on the Commodores in basketball. Guys, Will Wade needs to win massively. The excuses of injuries are not going to play well here. Not when Ole Miss and Vandy have multiple guys out from injury. It's not going to play well again if they lose this game. You got to find a way, draw some things up. I don't know. I don't know. They can't go out there and lose though. Craig Schilling says MLB Players Association and owners are killing me. Very quickly on this Major League Baseball stuff, and I know a lot of people don't like when we talk about it, but I there's been Craig, there's so many times I want to come out here and say to fire Rob Manfred. Major League Baseball is killing itself because of old school principles and not adapting. Let me tell you this. I don't want to, and I don't have the ability to watch the New York Yankees versus the Atlanta Braves at 12 o'clock Central Time on a work day. I can't do it. I can't watch them at 3 p.m. But you know what happens if I miss majority of the game? I would love to be able to go and watch the highlights from the game on YouTube. I can't make every game. But the access that they're not giving Major League Baseball is so stupid. Their PR department, everything that they're doing is so dumb. So dumb. Guys, I grew up with Mark McGwire, Sammy Sosa, Gary Sheffield, Derek Jeter, Barry Bonds, Roger Clemens, and I love Moises Alou. That's a good name for you. Ken Caminiti, Paul O'Neill, Bernie Williams, my favorite baseball player of all time, Tony Gwynn. The sport I grew up loving is excuse my the lack of my words, it's poo-pooing itself. All right, a couple more, then we're going to get out of here. Gerald Holyfield says ESPN has SEC contract to televise all sports. Yep. Kyle Decker says, Blake, give me a solid parlay for NCAA basketball. Kyle, I haven't looked at it. Kyle, can I just tweet that? Can I tweet that out in a minute? Hold on. Let's look at Bet Online right quick. Hold on. Let me tell you this. Auburn's going to be part of the parlay. No matter what, Auburn's going to be part of the parlay. And let me also say this: I don't go by point spreads in basketball. We did hit last weekend massive though. We hit massive with Joe Burrow, and we also hit massive with the basketball parlay. It's not pulling up. All right, hold on. Kyle, let me tweet that out to you, buddy. Just let me tweet that out. Kyle, do you follow us on Twitter? By the way, we have a goal. Let's see where we're at. You guys, as you know, I give money. I don't ask you for money. We're at 7,527 followers on Twitter. We want to get to 10,000. Dylan Contreras says Chipper Jones, absolutely. Ken Griffey Jr., absolutely. Randy Johnson, Craig Schilling, Luis Gonzalez, Pudge Rodriguez, Alex Rodriguez. I mean, guys, the list could go on and on for days. And Clark says, hashtag Ask Blake, what do you think about Wade's offensive scheme? I'm saying this sarcastically and not to you, but like what offensive scheme? You know what I mean? Like, I don't know if I feel like from an X's and O's standpoint, he does get beat from X's and O's standpoint. He does. So, they got to win today. There's no excuse to win today. All right, last one because I got to get out of here at 9:30. Chad Briscoe says prediction on LSU baseball record this season. I don't know that yet. I need to go. I'll go down. Chad, you know what we'll do? I'll go down that this weekend, and I'll give you a solid prediction. How about that? But I haven't made it like what their record will be yet because I kind of want to go get my eyes on them. That's why I wanted to go watch today, but I'm not going to be able to. But we'll get there. But I did see him. What was it, like 2 months ago? Wasn't it 2 months ago when they opened it up? And look, they're going to hit a ton. I really worry about their pitching massively. All right, guys. My name's Blake Ruffino. This is Are You Serious Sports. Go follow us on YouTube. Hit the subscribe button, notification bell. Follow us on Twitter. Everybody go follow us on Twitter. AYS Sports. We greatly appreciate it, guys. We'll see y'all again Monday. Actually, we might even come back on tomorrow because we got to make up an episode. But nevertheless, we'll see you tomorrow or Monday. Y'all have a good night or have a good day. Peace out, Girl Scouts.